The dawn over Celestria 4 was calm, a sharp contrast to the chaos of the previous battles. The twin suns rose slowly, casting light over the jagged cliffs and scorched plateau. Smoke from the skirmishes lingered in the air, but for the first time in weeks, the humans and Varelians could breathe without the immediate threat of enemy fire. Sergeant Daniel Rourke stood near the edge of the base, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of the Dravkon returning. Despite the quiet, he remained alert. He had learned that calm moments often preceded danger, and the galaxy was never truly at peace. Lyrina approached him silently, her robes brushing the metal floor. She had changed in the last few days, her youthful arrogance replaced by quiet respect and a new understanding of humanity. "You did it," she said softly. "You held this base. You saved lives. You've changed everything." Rourke shook his head, his expression calm. "We did it together. Humans, Varelians, everyone who trusted each other. No one wins alone." Princess smiled faintly. She had once mocked him, calling humans weak without armor. But now she could see the truth. His strength was not in metal or weapons. It was in his mind, his body, and his will. And he had shown that humans could survive and thrive even when stripped of everything that seemed necessary. Over the following days, the base began to recover. Repairs were made to damaged equipment, wounded soldiers were tended to, and patrols resumed under Rourke's careful guidance. Even without armor, he moved with confidence, demonstrating techniques to navigate the harsh terrain and teaching both human and Varelian soldiers to rely on intelligence, observation, and courage rather than technology alone. Rourke's reputation spread quickly. Tales of the unarmored human who had led the defense and outsmarted the Dravkan reached distant sectors. Even seasoned Varelian officers began to acknowledge that humans were not just warriors, they were thinkers, planners, and survivors. Lyanna, once a young princess confident in her superiority, now watched him with admiration and curiosity. She wanted to understand how humans could be so resilient, so fearless, and so adaptable. One afternoon, the base received intelligence of a Dravkon scout ship hovering near the outer perimeter. Many suggested waiting for reinforcements or deploying heavy weaponry, but Rourke disagreed. "If we wait, they will gather strength. We act now, and we control the fight." Lyrina accompanied him again, now fully trusting his judgment. They approached the scout ship with a small team, moving silently across the rugged terrain. Rourke demonstrated patience, teaching the Varelians and humans to move as one, anticipate enemy movements, and use the environment to their advantage. When they reached the scout ship, Rourke led a precise, coordinated attack. The enemy crew was caught off guard, unable to respond effectively to a group that moved with such precision and intelligence. Irina watched in awe as he guided the humans and Varelians, neutralizing the threat without unnecessary risk. As the Dravkon retreated once again, the princess finally spoke openly. "I underestimated humanity," she admitted. "I thought strength was about armor, about weapons, about technology. But you've shown me it's about courage, intelligence, and the will to survive. That is what makes humans strong." Rourke nodded. "Strength is measured in more than metal and firepower. Humans survive because we adapt. We win because we refuse to give up." Over the next several weeks, the alliance between humans and Varelians grew stronger. Rourke continued to lead training sessions, demonstrating techniques that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. The soldiers learned to work together, blending their strengths and overcoming weaknesses. Under his guidance, the base became more resilient, more efficient, and more confident. Lyrina spent more time with him, observing and learning. She realized that her role as princess did not make her superior. Leadership was earned through action, wisdom, and the ability to inspire others. Rourke taught without arrogance, led without fear, and acted without hesitation, unarmored. Presence was a constant reminder that true strength came from within. One evening, as the twin suns set behind the cliffs, painting the sky in shades of violet and gold, the base held a ceremony to honor the soldiers who had defended Celestria. Rourke stood quietly, allowing others to receive praise while he remained modest. Lyrina approached him, holding a small token of appreciation from her people, a symbol of respect and acknowledgement. "This is for you," she said, offering the token. "Not because of armor, not because of weapons, but because of what? You've shown us courage, intelligence, and leadership. You've taught us what humans are capable of." Rourke accepted the token with a nod, placing it carefully on his belt. "We all learn from each other," he said simply. "Humans, Varelians, anyone willing to adapt and trust each other. That's how we survive." As the ceremony ended, Rourke walked away, picking up his armor, but not immediately putting it on. He walked with the same calm confidence he had always carried, unafraid, unhurried, and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Lyrina watched him go, understanding fully that this human soldier had changed not only her perception of humanity but also the course of the alliance between their worlds. In the following months, Celestria 4 became a model of cooperation. Human and Varelian soldiers trained together, learning to combine ingenuity with advanced technology. Rourke continued to serve as a leader and teacher, showing that courage, adaptability, and intelligence could achieve what brute strength alone could not. The Dravkon forces did return, as he had predicted, but they were never able to gain a foothold. The humans, led by Rourke, used strategy, teamwork, and their unyielding spirit to repel every attack. Lyrina was there for each encounter, now confident in her understanding of human potential. She had learned that mocking others, underestimating them, or relying solely on technology was foolish. True strength came from within. One evening, after a long day of training and patrols, the princess approached Rourke quietly. "I have learned more from you than from anyone else," she said. "You've shown me that humans can survive the impossible, that we can rely on each other, and that courage is stronger than armor. I am grateful." Rourke looked at her, faintly smiling. "You've learned well, and you've shown that anyone, no matter their species, can grow stronger when they trust themselves and others." For Lyrina, that moment was transformative. She realized that leadership and strength were not about titles or appearance. They were about action, courage, and the ability to inspire. And in Rourke, she had witnessed the embodiment of humanity's true power. As night fell over Celestria 4, the stars twinkled above like distant beacons of hope. Rourke walked across the plateau, finally putting on his armor, not because he needed it, but as a reminder that even when prepared, humans could achieve greatness without depending on it. Lyrina watched from a distance, her respect deep and unwavering. The galaxy was vast, and challenges would come again, but for now, humanity had proven itself. Through courage, intelligence, and unbreakable will, they had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious. And one unarmored soldier had shown an alien princess in the universe what humans were truly capable of. The wind swept across the plateau, carrying with it the quiet echoes of battles fought and lessons learned. And somewhere in the heart of Celestria 4, the story of courage, resilience, and the unarmored human who had changed everything had reached its triumphant conclusion. The young princess finally understood what many had not, that the strength of a species was not measured by technology or armor, but by spirit, determination, and the courage to face the impossible without hesitation. And Sergeant Daniel Rourke, walking steadily into the night, had proven it in every step. The morning sky was pale and cold, the twin suns barely breaking through the thick clouds that hung over Celestria 4. Sergeant Daniel Rourke stood on the jagged cliff, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of movement. The previous battles had been victories, but he knew better than anyone that peace on this planet was fragile. The Dravkon forces were cunning and relentless. They would return, and this time, they would come with more power and more soldiers. Rourke turned to the young princess, Lyrina, who had been watching him silently. Her violet robes flapped in the harsh wind, her expression a mixture of awe and determination. She had seen him fight, seen him lead, and she had begun to understand what made humans different from any other species in the galaxy. She no longer mocked him. Instead, she watched closely. hoping to learn. Reports came in that a massive enemy squad had been detected moving through the northern canyon. It was larger than any Rourke had faced before, heavily armed and well-coordinated. Varelian officers debated their options, most suggesting that they retreat to fortified positions and wait for reinforcements. But Rourke shook his head. "We cannot wait," he said, his voice steady. "If we let them gain the high ground, we risk losing everything. We move now, and we use what we have: speed, strategy, and each other." Irina nodded, understanding his logic. She had already seen that humans thrived under pressure, adapting quickly to any situation. She'd also learned that Rourke's calmness in the face of danger was contagious. Soldiers followed his lead with confidence, trusting him implicitly. The team set out, moving quietly through rocky terrain. Rourke led the way, unarmored and agile, navigating cliffs and narrow paths with skill that amazed even the most experienced Varelian warriors. Alien guards struggled to keep up, but they followed his instructions, covering each other and using the environment to their advantage. As they approached the northern canyon, the Dravkan squad revealed themselves, at fortified positions. Energy shields and automated turrets ready to fire. Most commanders would have panicked at the sight of such overwhelming firepower. Rourke, however, remained calm. "Observe their pattern," he said, crouching behind a boulder. "Every machine has a rhythm. Every soldier has a blind spot. We move with precision, and we strike where they least expect it." He divided his team into smaller units, assigning roles that maximized each soldier's strength. Humans would flank the enemy, using speed and agility. Varelians would provide support, covering approaches and controlling choke points. Rourke himself moved to a high vantage point, using the natural cliffs to monitor enemy movements and guide his team with hand signals and subtle gestures. The battle began with a sudden burst of energy fire from the enemy. Rourke's team scattered, taking cover behind rocks and natural barriers. He watched carefully, noting patterns and weaknesses. Then, with precise timing, he signaled the human flanking team. They moved silently, avoiding detection, and struck the first turret with improvised charges. The explosion drew the enemy's attention, but it was exactly the distraction Rourke had planned. The Varelian guards advanced, securing the perimeter, while Rourke guided the human soldiers to take down automated defenses and enemy units. Every movement was coordinated, every action deliberate. The Dravkan forces were strong, but they were unprepared for this level of strategy and adaptability. Lyrina followed closely, amazed at the human's ability to lead without relying on armor or heavy weapons. He moved like water, flowing around obstacles, anticipating danger, and turning the enemy's strengths against them. Several times, he dove to protect a soldier from an energy blast, using only his agility and timing. Each act of bravery inspired others to act decisively. Hours passed as the battle raged. The enemy adapted, launching counterattacks and using the terrain to their advantage. Rourke, however, stayed several steps ahead. He had studied the canyon, learned every slope and crevice, and used it to orchestrate ambushes and traps. His unarmored form moved through danger with confidence, proving that true strength was not in metal, but in skill and courage. At one point, a massive energy cannon targeted the human soldiers. Lyrina froze, fearing the worst. But Rourke saw an opportunity. He signaled a diversion, drawing the cannon's fire to an empty area while the soldiers advanced from a different angle. The cannon misfired, damaging the enemy's own fortifications. Lyrina could hardly believe her eyes. A single, unarmored human had outsmarted what she had once considered an unbeatable weapon. The climax of the battle came when a group of elite Dravkan warriors attempted to flank the human base. Rourke sprinted ahead, unafraid of the heavily armed enemy. Using the cliffs and rocks, he set traps and led the enemy into a narrow canyon where their numbers became a disadvantage. With careful timing and coordination, the humans and Varelians struck from above and behind, overwhelming the elite soldiers. Lyrina watched in awe as Rourke moved among the battlefield, saving those in danger, guiding attacks, and inspiring everyone with his calm authority. She realized that this human soldier had changed the course of the battle not through strength alone, but through intelligence, courage, and an unshakable will. By the time the Dravkan forces retreated, the plateau was quiet again. Smoke rose from damaged equipment, and injured soldiers were attended to, but the base had survived. Rourke surveyed the battlefield, unarmored and calm, his eyes reflecting a mixture of satisfaction and readiness for what might come next. Lorena approached him, her steps careful. I see it now, she said softly. You lead not with weapons, not with armor, but with your mind, your courage, and your determination. You've shown me what humans are capable of. Rourke nodded. We survive because we adapt. We fight because we must. We win because we refuse to give up. The princess studied him, realizing that she had underestimated humanity. They were more than soldiers. They were thinkers, planners, and survivors. And one unarmored human had just proven that they could face overwhelming odds and succeed. As night fell, survivors gathered around small fires, tending to the wounded and repairing equipment. Lorena stayed near Rourke, still amazed by his abilities. You risked everything without protection. Why? She asked. He looked up at the stars, calm and steady. Because armor doesn't fight battles, weapons don't win wars. People do, and I trust people more than anything else. For Lorena, the lesson was clear. Humans were not weak or dependent on technology. Their true power came from courage, ingenuity, and an unwavering spirit. And the human before her had just demonstrated it in the most extreme way imaginable. The twin suns set behind the cliffs, casting long shadows over the plateau. Rourke stood tall, unarmored, calm, and ready. Lorena watched him, no longer with mockery or doubt, but with respect and admiration. She knew that humanity had proven itself on this world, and that this soldier, this unarmored human, had become a symbol of their potential. The battle had ended, but the story of courage, skill, and human determination was far from over. The Dravkan would return, and the galaxy was full of challenges yet to come. But Rourke, unarmored and unwavering, would face them all with the same calm confidence, showing the universe what humanity was truly capable of. And somewhere in the quiet of the night, Lorena realized that she had witnessed more than a battle. She had witnessed a human soldier teaching an entire world what strength really meant, and she would never forget it. The morning sky over Celestria 4 was painted with streaks of orange and violet, but the beauty of the twin suns was lost on the soldiers preparing for battle. From the base, the Dravkan fleet loomed on the horizon, massive ships casting long shadows over the jagged cliffs. Their engines pulsed with a low hum that resonated through the ground, warning of the storm about to break. Sergeant Daniel Rourke stood at the edge of the plateau, scanning the approaching fleet. His team, both human and Varelian, waited for his instructions, tension hanging thick in the air. Lorena, now beside him, felt a strange mix of anticipation and unease. She had come to respect him, but witnessing a battle on this scale was different. This was not a small skirmish or a rogue patrol. This was war. Rourke spoke calmly, his voice cutting through the nervous murmurs. We don't fight their numbers. Head on, that's their mistake. We'll use what they don't. Expect speed, terrain, and strategy. Everyone, follow your orders carefully. Trust each other, and trust yourselves. The Dravkan fleet began to descend, their ships slicing. Through the sky like metallic predators, missiles and energy beams streaked toward the plateau, testing the human defenses. Most of the base scrambled, relying on shields and automated turrets to block the attacks. Rourke, unarmored, moved with ease across the rocks, directing soldiers, guiding aliens, and repositioning defenses with an efficiency that drew awe from onlookers. When the first wave of Dravkan troops landed, chaos erupted. Many alien soldiers hesitated, unsure how to fight against the unpredictable humans. Rourke, however, leapt into action. Without armor, he moved faster than anyone expected, dodging blasts and leading small squads in quick strikes. He used the terrain to his advantage, weaving through rocks, cliffs, and crevices, drawing enemies into traps he had prepared moments before. Lorena followed him closely, amazed at how his presence inspired those around him. Soldiers who had once doubted themselves now moved with confidence, trusting Rourke's instincts. He coordinated their attacks, timing them perfectly, using sound and subtle hand gestures. Every move seemed effortless, yet every action was calculated. A large Dravkin mech advanced toward a group of humans, its heavy legs crushing rocks beneath it. The aliens panicked, believing the armored soldiers were the only ones capable of stopping it. Rourke smiled faintly, unbothered by the looming threat. He dashed forward, narrowly avoiding a swing of the mech's massive arm. With a quick assessment, he directed 2 humans to flank it, while he climbed to a high rock formation. From there, he aimed improvised energy charges, guiding them with precise timing. The mech stumbled. Caught off guard by the unconventional tactics, the humans exploited its blind spots, dismantling its weapon systems with speed and ingenuity rather than brute force. Irina's jaw dropped. She had been trained to fight in the most advanced Varelian academies, but she had never seen such efficiency without relying on technology. Meanwhile, Rourke noticed a squad of enemy sharpshooters aiming at the base's communications tower. Fatality, without hesitation, he sprinted toward them, dodging energy blasts. He used rocks and natural cover to approach silently, then executed a series of quick maneuvers to neutralize the sharpshooters before they could cause serious damage. The Dravkon forces, frustrated and confused, began to adapt, but Rourke was always one step ahead. He anticipated their movements, guiding his team through ambushes, traps, and counterattacks. Alien soldiers began to murmur among themselves, astonished by the humans' unarmored skill. Irina could no longer deny it. She had mocked him once, assuming humans were weak without protection. Now she saw the truth. A human's strength was not in armor or weapons, but in courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Hours passed, and the battle raged across the plateau. Rourke moved tirelessly, orchestrating the defense, saving soldiers who were pinned down and countering enemy advances with precision. His presence was like a force that connected everyone, giving them confidence to fight even when overwhelmed. At one point, a massive explosion sent debris flying, and the princess found herself trapped beneath a collapsed support beam. Panic surged through her, but Rourke was there in an instant. With incredible strength and agility, he lifted the beam, just enough for her to escape. She looked at him, breathless, and for the first time, truly understood the meaning of human determination. The Dravkon began to withdraw, their ships retreating as the humans and aliens held the plateau. It was a victory, but not without cost. Several soldiers were injured and parts of the base were damaged. Rourke surveyed the battlefield, calculating the aftermath. We held them off, but this is just the beginning. They will return, stronger and smarter. We need to be ready, he said, voice steady, showing no fear. Irina approached him, still in awe. You were amazing, she said, her voice quiet but filled with admiration. Without armor, without weapons, you led us to victory. Rourke shook his head slightly. We didn't win because of me. We won because we acted together, trusted each other, and stayed focused. Armor can protect you. Weapons can help, but neither wins battles alone. Humans have learned to survive without relying on anything but our will. The princess pondered his words. She realized that humans, unlike any other species she had known, could adapt, endure, and overcome obstacles that seemed impossible. Their strength was not measured by technology or royal training, but by spirit and courage. Over the following days, Rourke continued to patrol the outer sectors, helping repair the base and training both human and alien soldiers in techniques that emphasized strategy, agility, and observation. Irina accompanied him, learning lessons she had never expected to receive. She observed how he communicated silently with his team, anticipating challenges and taking calculated risks that paid off every time. A week later, reports arrived of a hidden enemy encampment deeper in the canyon regions. The Dravkon were regrouping, preparing for another strike. Many officers suggested waiting for reinforcements, relying on heavy artillery and armored squads. Rourke disagreed. Waiting will cost lives. We move now, using the terrain and speed to our advantage. Every second counts, he said. The princess watched him, realizing that she had been wrong about humans from the start. They were not reckless, not weak, not dependent on armor. They were clever, resourceful, and fearless. And in Rourke, she saw the embodiment of everything humans could achieve when pushed to the limit. As they prepared to move out, Rourke turned to his team. Stay alert. Trust your instincts. Protect each other. We are human, and that alone gives us an edge. Soldiers nodded, inspired by his words. Even the alien guards who had doubted him before now moved with confidence. Lierna felt a sense of pride in being part of this moment, witnessing a human showing strength in a way no technology could replicate. They advanced toward the canyon, moving silently, using the terrain to hide their presence. Rourke led the way, unarmored, demonstrating remarkable control and awareness. Every step was deliberate, every movement calculated. The Dravicon scouts were caught off guard, unable to predict or counter the humans' approach. When the hidden encampment finally came into view, Rourke devised a plan that relied on distraction, misdirection, and precise timing. Humans and alien soldiers executed the strategy flawlessly, striking simultaneously from multiple directions. The Dravkin were overwhelmed, unable to respond effectively, by the end of the operation. The enemy forces had been neutralized, their encampment destroyed, and the humans had achieved victory without relying on heavy armor or overwhelming firepower. Lierna watched in silent admiration, realizing that this human soldier had not only changed her perception, but also demonstrated a new way of thinking about war, strategy, and survival. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and shadows stretched across the plateau, the princess approached Rourke. I see now, you were right. Humans are more than their armor, more than their weapons. You lead with your mind, your body, and your will. And that is what makes you strong, Rourke? Simply nodded. We survive because we adapt. We fight because we have to. We win because we refuse to give up. For Lierna, the lesson was clear. The human before her had not only defended the base, but had shown that courage. Intelligence and determination could overcome even the most advanced technology and powerful enemies, and somewhere in the heart of Celestria 4, the Dravcon forces retreated, unaware that they had encountered a human unlike any they had faced before, a soldier whose strength was not in armor, but in the unyielding spirit that drove him forward, no matter the danger. As night fell, Rourke looked out over the plateau once more. The battle was won for now, but he knew the galaxy was full of challenges yet to come. And no matter what lay ahead, he would face it unarmored, relying on the greatest weapon of all, humanity itself. Days passed on Celestria 4, but peace never lingered long. The plateau remained cold and unforgiving, and the humans continued their patrols without armor, guided by Sergeant Daniel Rourke's steady hand. While the young alien princess Lierna had begun to respect his abilities, she also felt a strange mix of frustration and curiosity. How could one human be so strong and calm without relying on the heavy protection every Varelian soldier swore by? Rourke woke early, before the twin suns rose fully above the jagged horizon. The base was quiet, save for the distant hum of alien machinery and the occasional chatter of guards. He moved with practiced efficiency, checking supplies, inspecting patrol routes, and planning the day ahead. To him, every action mattered. Survival and success were never left to chance. Lierna appeared behind him, her robes brushing the metal floor. You never sleep in armor, she said, voice tinged with curiosity. Do humans even need it? He didn't look back, continuing. His Check's armor is useful, but it can slow you down. Your mind is your best weapon. The body can do incredible things if you train it. The princess frowned, but there was no mocking edge in her tone this time. She simply followed him, watching as he moved effortlessly across the cold floor. That morning, the base received a distress signal from an outpost several kilometers away. Rogue Dravcon scouts had been spotted near a supply depot, and the small human team stationed there had requested immediate support. The human soldiers suited up quickly, leaving armor and heavy weapons behind. While the princess and a handful of alien guards prepared to move as well, Rourke led the way. Without the clanking weight of armor, he moved faster than anyone anticipated. Scaling jagged rocks and leaping over deep crevices with astonishing agility, Lyrina struggled to keep up at first, though she quickly realized she could observe and learn from his methods. As they approached the outpost, the faint glow of enemy scanners became visible in the distance. Rourke crouched behind a rocky outcrop, surveying the area. He gestured for the princess and the guards to stay low. Using only hand signals, he outlined a plan. They would approach from multiple angles, using the terrain for cover. No armor, no shields, just stealth, speed, and strategy. The human soldiers moved like shadows, silent and precise. Lyrina's eyes widened as she watched them neutralize Dravkon scouts one by one. Not with brute force, but with clever traps and quick, decisive strikes. A simple net trap brought down one enemy. A cleverly placed decoy distracted another. Every move was calculated, every action deliberate. The princess had never seen humans fight like this. They were not relying on technology or armor. They were relying on ingenuity and adaptability. Each human soldier seemed to anticipate the enemy's moves before they happened. Rourke was at the center, calmly guiding them, demonstrating patience and skill. When the Dravkon realized they were being ambushed, they panicked. Their advanced weapons were useless against a group that didn't conform to predictable patterns. The humans struck from unexpected angles, disappearing before the aliens could respond. By the time the fight was over, the outpost was secured, and the enemy had retreated. Lyrina stared at Rourke, unable to hide her astonishment. He had done all this without armor, without heavy weapons, and without any apparent fear. How? How do you do it? She asked, finally finding her voice. Rourke shrugged. We adapt. We use what we have, and we never stop thinking. Strength isn't always measured by what you wear or what you hold. Sometimes it's in how you see the world. The princess felt a flicker of humility. For the first time, she considered that humans might possess qualities even the most elite Varelian soldiers could not match. She had come expecting to oversee, to command, perhaps even to humiliate. Instead, she had watched a human show her that courage and intelligence could outmatch technology. Over the next several days, Rourke continued his patrols, taking Lyrina with him on missions. Each time she observed more of his methods. How he studied the terrain, how he predicted enemy movements, how he could communicate with his team using subtle gestures and eye contact. The humans moved as one, seamlessly coordinated, and always effective. During a supply run to a remote canyon, a sudden storm struck. Wind winds and blinding dust swept across the landscape, making movement treacherous. The alien guards panicked, slipping on rocks and struggling to maintain their footing. Rourke, unarmored, navigated the terrain with astonishing skill, guiding each guard safely through the chaos. At one point, the princess nearly lost her footing on a slick ledge. Rourke's hand shot out instinctively, steadying her. For a moment, she felt a strange warmth, not from the sun or the storm, but from the confidence and reliability of the human beside her. Trust yourself, he said simply. Trust what you know. Don't wait for protection to save you. The storm passed, leaving behind a washed-clean landscape. The group reached the canyon's edge, exhausted but safe. Lyrina looked at Rourke in a new light. She had mocked him once, assuming that humans were weak without armor. Now she understood that he possessed a strength beyond technology, the courage to face danger without fear, and the wisdom to act when others hesitated. Later, back at the base, reports came in of strange movements in the outer sectors. Alien scouts had detected an approaching fleet of Dravkon raiders, larger and more organized than any previous encounter. Panic rippled through the base. Varelian officers debated defensive strategies, most assuming the humans could only function effectively with full armor and weaponry. Rourke spoke calmly in the briefing. We can hold them off. But we fight smart. We don't rely on shields or force alone. We use the terrain, we use our minds, and we move faster than they expect. The princess watched him, absorbing every word. She realized that she had never truly seen a human operate at full potential before. They were not merely soldiers, they were problem solvers, leaders, and survivors. In Rourke, she saw the embodiment of what made humanity unique. That night, as the base prepared for the incoming threat, Rourke walked alone to the edge of the plateau. He studied the horizon, calculating angles, distances, and timing. Even without armor, he felt ready. His body was strong, his mind sharp, and his instincts honed through countless battles. He knew that whatever came, he could face it, and he could protect those who could not protect themselves. Liarina approached quietly, standing beside him without speaking. Together, they watched the stars shimmer over the alien world, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. She no longer saw him as just a human soldier. She saw a force of nature, someone who could defy expectations and redefine what it meant to be strong. The next morning, the Dravcon fleet appeared on the horizon. Their ships cut through the sky like dark blades, engines roaring, weapons ready. Panic surged through the base, but Rourke remained calm. He assembled his team, issuing orders with precision, signing roles that maximized the strengths of each soldier, human and alien alike. The princess, now fully aware of his capabilities, followed his lead without hesitation. Together, they would face the approaching threat, not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, strategy, and unshakable courage. And as the first enemy ships entered striking distance, Rourke smiled faintly. He had no armor, no heavy weaponry, but he was ready, because humans, he knew, thrived in the impossible, and fear had no hold over them. The battle was about to begin, and with it, Liarina would witness firsthand the unarmored power of a human soldier who had already changed her understanding of strength, courage, and resilience. The cold wind cut across the plateau of Celestria, for whipping against the soldier's armor and the tall cliffs that overlooked the alien city below. Sergeant Daniel Rourke tightened his gauntlets, scanning the horizon. The human base had been quiet for weeks, a fragile calm settling over the jagged terrain. He knew better than to trust silence. In this galaxy, quiet meant danger. A shuttle roared through the sky, its engines leaving a streak of golden light against the violet clouds. Rourke instinctively straightened. High above, the elegant craft shimmered with the polished metals of the Varelian Empire. There was no mistaking it. The princess had arrived. He watched as the shuttle descended with perfect precision. Settling in the landing pad at the center of the base, the air shimmered around it, and the doors opened to reveal a figure in flowing robes of deep silver and violet. Princess Liarina stepped out, her posture regal and unyielding. At 19 years old, she already carried herself like a commander. Born into royalty, though her eyes sparkled with the arrogance of youth, Rourke's unit was called to formation. His comrades straightened their spines, their armor gleaming under the twin suns. The humans had been stationed here for months, working alongside the Varelians to maintain the fragile treaty that kept peace between their worlds. But not all the alien soldiers respected them. Too many humans were mercenaries, capable only. When protected by their cumbersome armor, the princess's gaze swept over the soldiers, lingering for a moment on Rourke. He was used to attention, though not this kind. She tilted her head slightly and smirked. "The humans," she said in perfect galactic common, her voice carrying across the formation, "look like tin cans on two legs. I wonder how they survive, without falling apart." A ripple of tension passed through the human ranks. Some stiffened, others bristled. Rourke did neither. He kept his hands behind his back and said nothing. The princess stepped closer, her boots clicking on the metal ground. She circled him, her eyes scanning the intricate plating of his armor. "Tell me," she said, her voice teasing, "how does it feel to be trapped inside all that metal? Do you even know how to fight if someone rips it off?" The words hung in the air like a challenge. His fellow soldiers gritted their teeth. Many would have answered with pride or anger, but Rourke's eyes stayed calm, simply nodded once, and unsealed the locks on his armor. Piece by piece, he removed the heavy plates that shielded him from the alien world's harsh conditions. The base went silent. By the time he had stripped down to the reinforced undersuit, a form-fitting layer of material designed for survival. But not for war, Rourke stood completely bare of his formidable armor. He took a step back, chest straight, gaze steady. Without a word, he turned and walked away, leaving the clanging echoes of his armor behind him, the princess's laughter caught in her throat. She had expected a human to react with pride or indignation. But instead, he had simply walked away, confident in something she could not yet understand. She looked at her aides, who exchanged uncertain glances. The words she had spoken carried weight, yet the humans seemed untouched by them. For the next several days, Rourke carried out his duties without armor. His unit was surprised, but they quickly noticed something remarkable. Without the heavy plates, he moved faster, more fluidly. And with an almost uncanny precision, he climbed rocky cliffs without hesitation, crossed freezing streams without a thought, and carried out patrols in the hostile terrain with a grace that made the Varelians pause. Rumors spread through the base. The humans began to whisper about the soldier who didn't need armor to survive. Alien soldiers, who once mocked his kind, and watched from a distance with awe and a growing sense of caution. Lyrina found herself unable to stop watching him. She'd always believed humans were strong because of their technology, their armor, and their weapons. But here was proof that human strength came from within, from resilience, intelligence, and courage. The arrogance of youth faded slightly from her expression as curiosity replaced it. One evening, while the twin suns dipped below the jagged horizon, Rourke stood at the edge of the plateau, overlooking the alien city. The wind tugged at his hair and clothes, but he did not flinch. His mind worked as he observed the city below, the patrols, the energy conduits, the communication towers. He noticed patterns, weak points, and opportunities that no one else had seen. He had trained for this, not in a classroom, but in the harshest battlefields humans had ever known. Lyrina approached him quietly, careful not to startle him. You don't need armor?" she asked. Her tone was less mocking now, almost curious. Rourke glanced at her without turning his head fully. "Armor helps. It protects. But it doesn't fight," he said simply. "A soldier fights with his mind, his body, and his will." The princess frowned, intrigued. "And you believe that's enough?" Rourke didn't answer, simply began walking again, his stride confident, steady. Without armor, without weapons at hand. He looked unprotected, yet entirely in command of his surroundings. In the days that followed, incidents began to prove his point. Small skirmishes with rogue Dravcon scouts, traps set by alien wildlife, and even mechanical failures of the base's defense systems were met with his calm, methodical problem-solving. Each time, he relied not on his armor, but on observation, ingenuity, and raw human determination. Lyrina began to accompany him on patrols, first reluctantly, then with growing respect. She watched as he assessed threats, improvised solutions, and even inspired others to act courageously in dangerous situations. What had once seemed like arrogance was, she realized, extraordinary competence. By the end of the week, the mood among the alien soldiers had shifted. The princess's aides whispered among themselves, unsure whether to continue underestimating the humans. Stories of Rourke's exploits, climbing cliffs to rescue stranded scouts, outmaneuvering dangerous beasts, and navigating treacherous terrain alone spread quickly. The young princess, once so confident in her mockery, felt the sting of humility. One night, standing on the plateau once more, Lyrina finally spoke, her voice quieter than before. "Perhaps I judged humans too quickly," she admitted. Rourke glanced at her, a faint smile playing across his lips. "Strength isn't always in the armor we wear," he replied. For the first time, the princess saw the truth of his words. The human before her, stripped of protection, had not only survived but thrived. And in that moment, she understood that the story of humanity was not one of metal and machines, but of spirit, courage, and an unyielding will to overcome the impossible as The twin suns set behind the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of violet and gold. The human soldier walked back to his quarters. Lyrina watched him go, a mixture of astonishment and respect in her eyes. In a galaxy filled with empires, armies, and advanced technology, she had learned an invaluable lesson. Never underestimate humanity. And for Rourke, the lesson was simple. Armor could be heavy, weapons could be useful. But the true strength of a soldier lay in his mind, his body, and his determination to keep moving forward, no matter what the universe threw at him. The wind howled across the plateau, carrying with it the faint sound of the princess's soft voice, almost a whisper to herself. Maybe humans are worth more than I thought. Somewhere deep in the heart of Celestria 4, a story of courage, ingenuity, and unarmored bravery had just begun.